Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Cabinet meeting of the 28th of May. It's a relatively short agenda today, although there are a couple of things that will be of interest to our residents. And there are members of the public here, so I will just read out the fire precautions in that there are no drills that are expected, so in the event of a fire alarm sounding, everyone present is asked to exit out of the Ashcombe suite, walk down the corridor, turn right down the stairs and out of the front entrance to County Hall, and please disperse to Kingston Town Centre for 30 minutes or so, it says here, but as long as is needed. In terms of social media, very happy for anyone attending to use social media, provided that it doesn't disturb the business of the meeting. Can I remind Cabinet members, please, to turn their mobile phones either off or to silent, and also to speak into the microphone, as it doesn't always carry particularly well. We'll start with the formal agenda. So, apologies for absence.
Yes, we have apologies from Mrs. Mary Lewis and Mr. Matt Furness.
Thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting of the 30th of April 2019 has been circulated. Are those agreed?
Great.
Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations? Okay, thank you. Before we move on to the main agenda items, I'd just like to make a short announcement. In that I made clear in my speech to full council last week that we're absolutely committed to the environment and indeed to making recycling as easy as possible for our residents. And we need to have a joined-up approach to all of this. That is why the Cabinet has decided that the proposal to charge residents from next month for taking DIY wood and roofing felt to our community recycling centres will be deferred. This instead will be part of the review carried out by Dr. Povey, so that we do have a properly coordinated approach and we can look at the county's future waste strategy in the round. So just to make that clear, we will defer the introduction of charges for DIY wood and roofing felt that were due to come in next month. So moving on, so procedural matters are item 4. There are no members' questions, no public questions, no petitions, no representations on reports that were considered in private, no reports from the select or local committees, but there were 3 individual decisions that were taken, and those are at agenda item 6. And just to remind you that the first was in relation to the governance of our asset and shareholder investment boards, and we've consolidated the 3 boards into one single board called the Strategic Investment Board. Going forward, that will be a public agenda which will be published in the normal way. The second decision, which was a Part 2 decision, related to the Eco Park gasification facility, and to do with a long stop date. The third item then related to air quality, and that decision was taken by Mike Goodman, and I think you want to make some comments, Mike.
I do. I apologise, Cabinet, because I noticed just 10 minutes ago that the reason for the decision to put a reduction in the speed on the A331 was to do a rights of way. This, in fact, was incorrect. The reason we've had to do this is it is a ministerial directive to reduce the levels of NO2 to below the legal limit of 40. And it was felt by Jacko and the team that looked at this that the easiest way to confirm we could achieve this by 2021-22 would be by reducing the speed limit down to 50. So I do apologise. The reason given was not as stated to do with rights away, so I do apologise for that. But it's, as I said, a ministerial directive that we had to comply to.
Thank you, Michael. We'll correct that as part of the minutes. Thank you. So item 7, which is really the substantive item on the agenda today, is in relation to the financial outturn report for the year just finished, 2018-2019. I think, Melfi, you're going to introduce this and just make a few comments.
Yep, thank you. As members will note, this is the final outturn report for the 2018-19 financial year. The revenue outturn for the financial year ended March is positive and reflects the achievement of a balanced budget without the need for using reserves, following the actions taken to achieve budgeted savings originally set at 66 million and additional in-year savings target set at 40 million. We end the year with no use of reserves to balance the budget, while also contributing $500,000 to reserves against what we planned to use at the beginning of 21.3. There is a request to Cabinet to approve carry forwards of 4.4 million to the new financial year, and the details are set out in Annex 1, page 17. To achieve a sounder financial resilience position, the Council identified savings at the beginning of the last financial year in the order of £200 million to be achieved over 2 years. It is now halfway through the transformation programme, with 106 million savings achieved to date, places the Council on track to achieve this goal. However, there's still £100 million worth of savings to be achieved in this current financial year to complete the programme. Transformation savings are planned at 82 million and cost containment expenses totaling 28 million, which are included in the budget, bringing us up to the 100 million to be found. I would like to reiterate that the Council still faces uncertainty regarding its future funding going forward, and consequently the implementation of all transformation projects and the cost containment elements which are included in the budget need to be delivered this year. The report sets out in some detail significant net revenue budget variances, and these are contained in paragraphs 3 through 14. To fund the transformation costs, the Council is utilising the Government's flexible use of capital receipts policy. This policy was approved by full Council during the financial year, with 14.4 million spent to reconfigure services throughout the transformation programme. Capital expenditure for the year is summarised in Table 4, page 10, and the Cabinet will note the recommendation to carry forward 19.5 million, the details of which are contained in Annex 2 on pages 17 and 18 of the report. It's also interesting to note that the Council's investment strategy returned 4.7 million for the year, slightly ahead of budget. The key balance sheet indicators are contained in Annex 3, pages 19 through 22, and these deal with the breakdown of the debt at the end of the financial year, the Treasury Management Strategy and report, and the list of the earmarked reserves for the year. I think that brings me to the end of the cover, apart from saying that I'd like you to turn to page 6, where the recommendations are that Cabinet is asked to note the first item with the 4 bullet points and to approve the carry forward of the revenue budget underspend of 0.3 in addition to the 4.1 approved at month 11. The carry forward of capital budget underspends of 19.5, as I've mentioned.
Thank you very much, Mel. I think it's, this is a significant step forward, the achievements that have been delivered this past year. To start the year with an expectation of spending or having to utilise more than 20 million of reserves to end the year with a small increase in reserves is a testimony really to the hard work of the officers and indeed to the Cabinet for the work that they have done alongside those officers. And I think also a recognition that the transformation plans and the modernisation plans that we have working right across the Council are working. As you said, we are not there yet by any means. There is a significant target for this year, but we are a long way forward, I believe, in getting this Council into a sustainable position financially. And as I said at Council the other day, when we have done that, that will give us some choices as to then how we move forward. So, well done to the officers and indeed to the Cabinet members assisted with that, but it's important that people continue to keep a very close focus on those finances. We are entering into a period where we don't know at the moment what will happen around the fair funding review, whether that piece of work that the government has started will be completed or not, or whether we're looking at a one-year funding. But at the end of the day, we need to carry on with our programme of transformation to get us into a safer place as we can. So now I should have said at the beginning of the meeting, actually I apologise, first of all to welcome Dr. Grant Duff, who has taken over as the Cabinet Member for Corporate Support. Thank you very much. And then also just to remind members of the public that the four Deputy Cabinet Members at the end of the table constitutionally are unable to vote, I'm afraid, so if they don't put their hands up when we're about to vote on the recommendation proposed by Mel Few, that will be why. So now, is there any other comments anybody wants to make in relation to the financial report? No? Okay, in that case, as Mel says, there are three recommendations in the Cabinet paper. Are those agreed? If you could all show, please, by raising your hands. Thank you very much. Rather disappointingly, that brings us to the end of the public part of this meeting. So thank you very much for your attendance. And we will now, I'm afraid, exclude members of the public and move into part two.